SDPB helps shape South Dakota's future by educating, informing, and inspiring the next generation of thinkers, leaders, and creators. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB serves South Dakota through an interconnected communication system that is on 24/7, 365. The first place for Amber Alerts, public safety announcements, and EAS messages. SDPB keeps public servants and citizens informed. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB brings you closer to your government. With gavel-to-gavel coverage of the South Dakota legislature and in-depth reporting from Pierre. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB.
All right, good morning. We're going to call House Ag and Natural Resources Committee to order. Representative Whitman. I want to welcome everybody and greet our listeners, our internet listeners. Remind everybody, including the chair himself, to silent our phones. And with that, I'm going to ask the secretary to call the roll.
Representative Goodwin. Here. Hunt.
Here.
Ismay.
Here.
Ladner. Here. May. Here. Knowles.
Here.
Peterson.
Here.
Rice.
Here.
Schubeck.
Here.
Van Dypen.
Here.
Whitman.
Here.
Gosh. Here. Overwig.
Here.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Okay, we have a quorum. Would anybody, I'm sure you've all read the minutes from the last meeting.
Second.
It is moved by Representative Gosh, seconded by Representative Knowles to approve the minutes of the last meeting. All those in favor will say aye. Aye. Opposed? They are approved. I want to remind testifiers to sign in. Lobbyists, if you're going to be here, you have to wear your badges so we can see them. Remind testifiers that handouts will be distributed through our awesome pages. And with that, if the pages want to come up, tell us your name, where you're from, hopefully where you're going. Don't be shy. Just come on up, turn the mic on.
My name is Jenica Koisten, and I am from Lake Norton South, and I plan to go to DSU for computer science.
All right, good.
My name is Ben Wangsness. I am from Miller, South Dakota, and I plan on going to Iowa State University for meteorology and a minor in agronomy.
All right, that's good. We'd like to see you stay in state, but I get it. Your dad was a former member of this committee, I'm told. Why don't you come up and tell us a little bit about that? What was your dad's name?
J.D. Wangsness.
Oh, all right. Yes, I've worked with J.D. I served with J.D. Welcome. Okay, let's see where we're at. Any other introductions?
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to quickly say, I got 2 bills in other committees this morning, so if I'm running around, that's the reason.
It's crossover day. Whatever you do, you do. Okay, all testimony will go through the chair this morning. And with that, we're going to get started on our bills. SCR 605, recognizing the significance of the monarch butterfly and encouraging cooperative voluntary conservation efforts in South Dakota. Any proponent testimony? Welcome, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I'm Representative Nicole Uri-Balk from District 32 in Rapid City, and I'll be brief. I'm going to be handing over testimony to our Senator Whip, but I do just want to note that it's a fantastic resolution for number SCR 605, such a well-known number for South Dakota. So with that, I'll hand it over to Mr. Whip.
Thank you. Further proponent testimony on SCR 605.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Brandon Whip. That's Whip spelled the standard way. I am the senator representing the fighting 22nd District over across the Rotunda. A couple weeks before I was appointed this summer, I was presenting at the North American Monarch Conference, and I'll maybe show a couple slides from that presentation here in a little bit. And I remember thinking, boy, if I get appointed, I would like to use the platform to draw a little attention to an issue that maybe even a lot of people in agriculture don't realize has been happening the last few years. So you may not be aware that the monarch butterfly populations are in kind of tough shape, and that's been a discussion with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service for many years on what they're going to do about that. They have been looking at a proposed listing under the Endangered Species Act, which, when you hear those words, a little chill may go up your spine. It should. They have never looked at a species ever that has the range of the monarch butterfly, 49 out of 50 states actually. It wouldn't just be a really bad thing for agriculture, it would affect railroads and hospitals and schools and public parks and golf courses and your nice green lawn at your house. Like, all of those things would become a problem if it was listed as a full-blown endangered species. So I've been trying to engage both with conservationists and with the public and other farmers on this topic to try to show that there are things that farmers can do that are real easy and voluntary to help the monarch butterfly rebound in their populations and avoid that full-blown endangered species listing. Fortunately, they did come down with a recommendation of what's called a threatened species, which is one notch below endangered and gives them a lot more flexibility on the sort of things they recommend to deal with it. So I'm going to read one line. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm going to read the shortest paragraph in the whole thing. Whereas conservation efforts are most effective when they are voluntary, cooperative, and respectful of private property rights and agricultural operations. And I advocate for this when I'm talking to farmers. I try to tell them, here are the things that I've done. I've never taken a dime of government money to do this. I didn't have to have a government mandate to do this. I just do it because I feel it's the right thing to do, and it's super easy. It hasn't really cost me a ton of money. And so I try to lead by example there. When I'm talking to conservationists, you know, some of them, they look at agriculture, well, you're one of the enemies. And I say, well, no, here are the things that we can do voluntarily. I want to show just a couple things from the farm here. I guess this is just a PDF, but how do I make this? How do I put this up? Okay. Well, this is just a PDF. You're at these conferences, you have to kind of attract people into the room, and I titled my presentation, "My Curves Are Beautiful." And yeah, I filled the room because people were like, what is this farmer going to be talking about? When you fly over South Dakota, you see this grid of roads. We came in and imposed these straight lines on nature, but nature doesn't work like that. It operates with a lot of curves and stuff. And so these are actually a couple fields from our farm. You see the one there that has the creek winding through it. You can imagine trying to use large farm equipment in that, and I mean, that is the field where time goes to die. We spend a lot more time farming that than we do some of our other fields. This map over here shows a soil profile of one of our fields, and you can see there's no straight lines. The good soils are kind of in the dark blue, the red and yellow less so, and so we've learned that responding to those curves in nature actually can really benefit us. And I'm not going to point out all of these things, but this is the same field. When I came back to the farm, we had one farming practice on, basically one cash crop on both sides. And now I've got 5 different ones on the same piece of land because I have tried to respond to the different things that nature's giving me. So we got one cash crop over here, a second one on this side. This is a conservation area for upland game and also the milkweed, and I'll get to that in a second. 4 and 5 are hay areas. This is grass and this is alfalfa. And so 5 different farming practices on the same piece of land. This all comes down to milkweed. That's the only species of plant where a monarch butterfly will lay its eggs. And so much as I can, I'm trying to find places on the farm where I can let that milkweed grow. I try to spot spray the ditches instead of spraying every full mile. And I've got some nice big clumps of milkweed that are coming now. I mow around it where possible, and I just try to encourage farmers to do the same. And I want to underline, never taken a dime of government money, never had to have it mandated to do, and it's super easy. And so I just want to use this platform, I guess, to get that message out there and, again, try to head off what could be a real onerous thing for not just agriculture, but for all of us in this state if this were to be declared a full-blown endangered species someday. So that's all I have for you, and I'll stand by for questions. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Any further proponent testimony to 605? Not in the room. Do we have any online for 605? No. Okay. Then any opponent testimony to SCR 605? Well, seeing none, you don't need a rebuttal. So let's move into committee questions. Is there any committee questions? Representative May.
Thank you, Mr. You're not speaker, you're Mr. Leader. For the proponent, for clarity, can you define what voluntary conservation efforts mean in this resolution? Specifically, does voluntary mean free from regulatory consequences?
Go ahead and answer the question, please.
Well, what you do voluntarily is, of course, up to you. I think that's pretty well implied in the word. And you, I suppose, could do some things voluntarily that would bring down consequences on yourself. But what I'm really referring to here is not using government as a blunt instrument to beat farmers over the head with our philosophy on this. I've found that puts up more walls than it brings down. When I tell farmers about the things I've done voluntarily, they're a lot more open to it than if I sounded like I was going to government and trying to use government to force them to do it.
Follow up, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead and state your question.
Mr. Chair. So I've been here a while, and I've seen a lot of resolutions come through, and usually we go a little farther down the road, and then they become policy. So can you clarify whether anything in this resolution could later be interpreted as establishing state policy preference that influences land use decisions over regulatory framework?
Go ahead and answer the question. You want to shut your mic off, Representative, so the camera goes to the testifier?
Yeah, don't rob the people of what they came here for, right? I guess if I understand the question correctly, and I haven't been here a long time, but resolutions are simply statements encouraging action. They don't carry the force of law, and there's no nexus really for this becoming law apart from a completely separate action by a future legislature. So no, I don't see any concern there.
You good, Representative? Any more questions from the committee? Representative Peterson, and then we'll come here.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just kind of an easier one. So you're saying that there are farmers and ranchers out there that are doing things that are good for nature in addition to our operations that aren't a government handout. We're just doing them because they're the right thing and they work in our operation.
Go ahead and answer the question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, that's exactly right. I think it's a good message to share with farmers because it gets more buy-in from them. You show them what you've done, and I'm really proud of our industry and the way that we partner with nature. This isn't about us trying to just simply extract wealth at all costs. We try to find places for all different sorts of plants and animals on our farms now, and I'm really proud of that. I also think it's a good message to send to the public as well. Thanks for the question.
Are you good, Representative? Representative Hunt, did you have a question?
I did have a question.
State your question.
Sure. Senator Whip, I just am curious, are you aware of the toxicity of milkweed for horses?
Go ahead and answer the question.
I'm not a biologist or a vet, and I don't have any horses, sadly. So the areas we're talking about are like road ditches and areas along our creek, like the picture that I showed. We have like 7 continuous miles of this creek that just winds through our farm. No horses in the entire township, as I'm aware. So that hasn't been an issue that I've come up with, and really the areas that I'm trying to get farmers to focus on would not be open, flat pastures, as I understand is where you want your precious animals to be, and not in these ditches. So I'm not really familiar with the toxicity, though. No.
Representative, you good?
I'll wait for comments.
Okay. Any other questions from the committee? All right. Seeing no questions, we're going to close public testimony. We're going to move into committee discussion and or action. And the chair would just like to remind, when we're doing with these SCRs, the motions can be to bring it to the floor to concur, or of course 41st day is always in our option too. But so remembering that, we'll do a discussion interaction. Representative Whitman?
Mr. Chair, I move to pass.
No, you have to move to concur.
I move to concur, Mr. Chair.
Is there a second? Okay, it has been moved by Representative Whitman, seconded by Representative Van Dypen to concur with SCR 605. Comments on your motion?
I apologize, Mr. Chair. You're going to roll your eyes at me. Members, I think we should help this resolution spread its wings. Please vote yes.
That's it? Oh, wow, okay. Further comments, Representative Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll support the motion, and I know that we're all, some folks are going, what are we doing this for? But I think it is really important for the public to understand that farmers and ranchers, landowners do care about the wildlife, the environment, in addition to our operations. And the example that was given about maybe this doesn't work in all operations, that's exactly right. So you got to pick and choose where we do it. But on our farm, some of these practices work because we graze early in the spring, and then we leave them for the rest of the year, and the milkweed can come back. I don't do those practices specifically to help the monarchs, but they do also help. And I just think it's really important. I mean, sometimes farmers and ranchers get beat on the side of the head in the journal, in the newspapers, that we only do things for handouts. We're not going to do anything good unless we get a handout. And I think this resolution proves that that is obviously not the case.
Further comments on the motion to concur, Representative Schubeck.
So just briefly, I was talking to the prime sponsor from the Senate earlier, and we do a lot of the same things, and it was kind of fun to watch my 5th grade daughter. She got really excited about monarch butterflies, and I didn't know what a chrysalis was until she got a monarch butterfly and raised one, and it was pretty cool. So I'm going to support this motion. So.
Okay, Representative Hunt.
I'm actually going to resist this motion, as being an owner of over 80 head of horses and having lost many horses to milkweed and having talked with FSA about conservation practices for monarch butterflies. It does not really work for those of us that feed our animals on cricks. And I'm just going to resist this for those of us producers that can't control the spread of milkweed.
Okay. Other comments, Representative May. Put your mic on there if you can. Thank you.
I'm also going to resist this motion. So history here, it shows us that resolutions, even if they're well-intended, which I think this one is, sometimes become the foundation of later regulatory frameworks. And so for that reason, I'm going to resist the motion too.
All right, thank you. Further comments, Representative Ismay.
It was stated that, you weren't a veterinarian. Well, I grew up with one for my whole life, and milkweed is definitely a problem in the horse industry, so I'll be resisting too.
All right. Anybody else want to comment? Okay, well, the chair would just like to say, I've spent most of my morning trying to figure, I know there's a butterfly song out there someplace, but I couldn't find it. So with that, we have a motion to concur. And Madam Secretary, will you call the roll, please?
Representative Goodwin.
Aye.
Hunt.
Nay.
Ismay.
Nay.
Ladner.
Aye.
May. Nay. Knowles.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Schubeck.
Aye.
Van Dypen.
Aye.
Whitman.
Aye.
Gosh.
Aye.
Overwig.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, we have 10 yeas and 3 nays.
Okay, receiving the votes that it needed, SCR 605 will go to the floor with a to concur motion. Moving on, SCR 606, encouraging the review and approval of water rights applications and future use reservations from the Missouri River. Is there any proponent testimony to HCR 606? Welcome, Representative.
Good morning, Mr. Leader and committee members. My name is Representative Tessa Schwanz, and I'm from District 9. I'm right outside of Sioux Falls. What you see in front of you today is SCR 606, which is encouraging the review and approval of water right applications and future use reservations from the Missouri River. I know a lot of you know that our river is one of our most valued natural resources in the state of South Dakota. It covers 2,600 square miles across 7 states, and it has 4 major dams within the state of South Dakota. South Dakota has donated over 560,000 acres and is one of the biggest land donators to the river and its basins. The biggest benefiters of our land donations are downstream, which is Nebraska. This resolution is to create a hierarchy of water preservation for our Missouri River water, where our South Dakota citizens, South Dakota businesses, and agricultural partners are top of the list. Let's not be in the same situation as the Colorado River Basin states, where they have allocated more water on paper than the Colorado River actually produces. Current usage regulatory exceeds the Colorado River's natural replenishment. Around 40 million people rely on the Colorado River for water across 7 states. These states are now in high-stakes negotiations on how to share that water, and they are facing a critical over-allocation supply. I would recommend to Google Colorado River negotiations, and you will see this controversial current issue. The 7 U.S. states involved in negotiating the future of the Colorado River, which is currently facing a critical over-allocated supply, are divided into 2 basins, the lower basin and the upper basin. These states are working on a new agreement to manage the river's dwindling water supplies, but as you can imagine, negotiations are fraught with conflict. My dad has always said that water is our greatest asset and one that we should always fight for. I would ask you for your favorable vote today to protect South Dakota's greatest asset, the Missouri River.
Thank you for the proponent testimony to SCR 606. Welcome, Senator. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
All
and
right,
give us your
thank you,
testimony.
Mr. Chair and honorable members of the committee. I'm Joy Hone, Senator for District 9. And, you know, just recently, I shouldn't say recently, but in the last few years, I've become educated as far as what's going on in Colorado. Brought a lot of concerns. I have a handout that I would love for you to reference as I continue on here. Just wait a minute. So if you go to the second page of the handout is where I'll start. The Colorado River, as you can see, excuse me, let me back up here to the Missouri River flows available in the basin. As you can see, South Dakota permits a consumptive use of 2.2 million acre per foot, which over 90% remains for other users. South Dakota's actual consumptive rate is 919,000 acres per feet, which uses less than half of what is permitted. So if you turn to the next page, you can see what's under construction. And all these areas are being explored and developed. And I just wanted you to look at the demonstration of the need. You can see all the different water projects that, once again, are being explored or developed. And if you look at the bottom map, you can see that the Colorado River Basin study, they're looking at bringing water in from outside the basin. And you can see how it is pointing towards the Missouri River. This resolution is to encourage smart long-range planning. Let's not get ourselves into an insurmountable situation that the 7 states to the west of us are facing. This is a proactive approach to plan for future generations. And if you reference the first sheet of the handout, I want to leave you with a highlighted quote from 49 years ago by attorney George Mickelson, who of course later became our governor. It was our opinion that we should, in order to protect future use of Missouri River water and other water resources in the state, begin to allocate to various viable agencies in the state that would have future use for water. I would ask for your favorable support of SCR 606. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Further proponent
I think there's Other remote
We'll
testimonies.
get to them. So is there other proponent testimony to SCR 606 in the room? Okay, then we're going to go to online, and I believe, which one? Okay, hang on here. Let me get, let the, yeah, okay, we're going to go down the line. Jay Gilbertson. Mr. Gilbertson, are you on, and can you hear us? Mr.
I can
Gilbertson.
hear you, and hopefully you can see me.
I can't see you, but I can hear you. So you go ahead and introduce yourself and give us your testimony.
Okay, lucky you. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Jay Gilbertson, the registered lobbyist for the East Dakota Water Development District. I'm here today to encourage your support of SCR 606. Water has always been and always will be the most critical of South Dakota's water resources. Nothing can exist without it. And consequently, it's imperative that we continue efforts to manage our water resources to our greatest advantage. One of the tools at our disposal are what are known as future use permits. Certain entities have the ability to reserve water from either surface or groundwater resources, not just for the utilization of their current users, but also to cover projected future needs. What the future will bring is unknown, but it is reasonable to assume that water will be a big part of our state's future. Encouraging, excuse me, SCR 606 encourages the Water Management Board to place an emphasis on forward thinking, planning for the future, and I think this is a critical idea. I was going to close with the quote that Senator Hohn just gave from our former attorney, but she beat me to that, so I'll just wrap with, would encourage your favorable support for the resolution. We'll stand by for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbertson. Now we're going to go to a Kurt Feifel. I hope I'm not killing your name here. Kurt Feifel, are you on?
Yeah, I am, if you can hear me, and that's
I
that's
can't.
all
Just
right,
go
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman.
Go ahead and introduce yourself and give us your testimony, please.
Sure. So good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Kurt Feifley. I serve as the executive director of the Dakota Main Stem Regional Water System, and I am a registered lobbyist on their behalf. Dakota Main Stem does support SCR 606. This resolution recognizes the importance of long-term planning and coordination to ensure South Dakota has access to adequate water supplies in the future. We are seeing firsthand that water demand can develop quickly. Projects such as Dakota Main Stem, Western Dakota, Lewis and Clark, their second expansion, and WINS, all of them demonstrate how essential it is to secure water supplies and the necessary support in advance. Anytime South Dakota can reserve and plan for future use of the Missouri River water, the better positioned our state will be to support economic growth, protect public health, and serve our communities. SCR 606 helps set the stage for that future, and we respectfully ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now we're going to go to a Troy Larson. Troy Larson, can you hear us? Introduce yourself. Give us your testimony, please.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Troy Larson. I'm the executive director of the Lewis and Clark Regional Water System. I echo the support and comments made by Kurt and Jay. I would just add, I really appreciate Senator Hohn taking the lead on this in terms of trying to bring attention to the long-range planning needs of the state when it comes to water. And to that end, I greatly appreciate how she coordinated with DANR officials on this. And I understand that they are in support of this, even though they didn't testify. I really appreciate how she coordinated with state officials. So would respectfully urge your approval of this resolution as a step forward in our long-range planning. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, that's all of our online. One last call for proponent testimony in the room. Seeing none, we will move to opponent testimony. Is there any opponent testimony to SCR 606? Okay, seeing none, then I guess you don't want a rebuttal? You said it all? Okay. Then let's move into committee questions. Committee questions, please. Representative Rice, state your question, please.
Yes, I don't know who this goes to.
We'll find someone.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just wondering, this is for future use permits for the water on the river. And how does that, I mean, right now, how does that work? I mean, right now, if you need to use the water, how do they get permits, and how does it work in the future with this?
Would you like Mr. Gilbertson to take that? Mr. Gilbert, Jay Gilbertson, are you on yet? Did you hear that question? Can you answer that for us? Mr. Gilbertson, there you go.
Yeah, I did. I did hear the question.
Thank you. Introduce yourself and answer the question if you can, please.
All right. Again, Jay Gilbertson, manager of the East Dakota Water Development District. The question is, how do the water rights permits work? Basically, under current South Dakota law, if you are going to use any real significant quantity of water, 18 gallons a minute's the kind of the magic trigger point. You're required to get a permit from the state. The water belongs to all of us. It is managed by the Water Rights Program through DANR. You have to identify the need. How much are you going to use? What are you going to use it for? And so forth. And then the water rights staff will look at the source that you propose to tap and determine whether or not there is adequate water there available for that particular use. If it is, the process moves forward and you get a permit to use the water as long as you continue to do what you say you're going to do with it. Most critical in the West is that we operate under what's called sort of first in time, first in right procedures. Water is critical. Well, again, water is critical. The first guy to ask for the water is the last one who has to give it up if things start to get a little dicey. And so the timing of the permit application is often important. But in the case of a Missouri River permit now, there appears to be adequate water available to cover all of the current needs and still leave water for future development. But as was noted by other testimony, other watersheds like the Colorado aren't necessarily in that same situation. And what we'd like to do is make sure that we get South Dakota's interest covered before things go south.
You good, Representative? Other questions? Representative Ladner, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Gilbertson, just to clarify, West River currently has rural water rights to the Missouri. Does this resolution affect those already allocated rights in any way?
Mr. Gilbertson, can you answer that, please?
Mr. Chairman, no. This resolution would have no impact. Existing future use permits, existing permits or water rights are not impacted in any way, shape, or form. I think the intent of the resolution is to encourage, particularly the Water Management Board, but South Dakota's in general, to think more about the future rather than today's drought. What are we going to need 20 or 30 or 50 years down the line? Because as some of the big systems have demonstrated over the years, you can't just put a pipe in the river and pipe it and send water to somewhere else overnight. It takes time and planning, and we need to focus on the planning. But existing permits, existing water rights on the Missouri River or in groundwater resources are in no way, shape, or form impacted by the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Whitman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe this is also a question for Mr. Gilbertson. Mr. Gilbertson, as you know, the Missouri River policy intersects with tribal nations and water rights. I just want to make sure this resolution, does it account for existing tribal water rights and government-to-government relationships?
Go ahead, Mr. Gilbertson.
Mr. Chairman, yes, to a degree, I think. It's understood that as part of the treaty agreements established back in the 1800s with many of the Western tribes, that although it was not explicitly stated in the treaties, that it was a clear implication that there were water rights awarded or that were included in those agreements. And in many instances, in most cases, those water rights haven't been fully quantified. The actual amount of water that's set aside hasn't been determined, but the fact that they are senior to almost every other water right has been long recognized by the courts. Under the current circumstances, again, I think that short of claiming all of the water in the river, there is probably adequate water available to meet the needs of the established permitted users now, the future users, as well as maintaining the river and accounting for what are called the winter's rights, the implied rights that come with the treaties that established the reservations. Thank you.
Good. Any more questions from the committee? Okay, Mr. Gilbertson, I got one for you. So just to simplify it, can we speak for water in the future that right now we don't have a project for, but can we just like a little kid grab it and say, that's my toy, no one else can have it?
Mr. Chairman, short answer is yes, you can. Now, in most instances, you're going to have to demonstrate to the Water Management Board a reasonable need. And I'll use the Water Development District as an example. We currently hold a little over 90,000 acre-feet of Missouri River water as part of a future use permit. We are not a public water supplier, but under South Dakota law, we're one of the entities that's allowed to hold those rights in anticipation of future needs by our constituents. And every 7 years, our permit is reviewed. The Water Management Board determines effectively that the need is still there, that it's justifiable, and the quantity is reasonable. And we've been reissued that permit on a continuous basis since 1977. So,
okay, my last question to you is this. How much does the, how do I want to say this? I got to figure a way if I can answer. The Corps of Engineer, how much play do they have in deciding where the water goes, and how are they to work with? You know, I guess I'm asking, how much power do they have? Do they have more power than the state?
Mr. Chairman, if I could phone a friend, if Mr. Fifley is still online, he might be better positioned to speak to that particular
Mr. Fifley,
question.
are you on? Can you answer that question?
Probably not. So there, the Corps of Engineers manages the river, the Missouri River, and there's been attempts by the Corps of Engineers in the past to say charge water systems for the storage of water. They failed in doing that. We were able to beat that back, but I guess in the end, Mr. Chairman, whether or not the Corps of Engineers has more authority or power than the state, I guess, is a question that'll probably have to be tested in court at some point.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no, Representative Peterson has a question.
And I'm catching up. So who was Representative Schwanz or Senator Hohn kind of the main prime on this? I'd ask either of you, whichever you want.
Okay, go ahead and state your question.
The question is, on line 5, and this is intended to be a friendly question. Line 5, it says, the state shall ensure that water resources are developed for the greatest public benefit, put to beneficial use to the fullest extent possible, and not wasted or used unreasonably. My question as an ag producer is, do you think the greatest public benefit, or not wasted or used unreasonably, do you see ag use as part of that greatest public benefit, or are we picking one or the other?
Go ahead and introduce
Chair.
yourself and then answer the question, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Joy Hone, District 9, Senator. As you maybe missed initially, that, we want to preserve this for South Dakota citizens, South Dakota businesses, and South Dakota ag. And so ag is definitely part of this.
Okay. All right. Seeing no more questions, we're going to close public testimony, and we are going to move into committee discussion and or actions from the committee. Representative Rice.
Can I, what is it called? Go to the floor with a
The motion would be to concur.
to concur. Can I do a motion to concur?
You certainly may. So a motion was moved by Representative Rice and seconded by Representative Whitman to concur on SCR 606. Do you have a comment on your motion?
I believe the water, we have to preserve our water here in South Dakota for our state. So I think I think the good representatives that are bringing it.
Okay, further comment on the motion to concur, Representative Schubeck.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I really support this resolution, and I think it's a great thing. We need to support our Missouri River water rights. With that said, I want to get a little nitpicky on some wording here. I'm sorry. But if you go to line 17, it says, I'll start at 16. It says, now therefore be it resolved by the Senate of the 101st Legislature of the State of South Dakota, the House of Representatives concurring therein, that it is of utmost importance that the Water Management Board prioritize the review, this is where I get nitpicky, and approval of water rights applications. So review and approval of water rights applications and future use. So I think it's fine, but that makes, it doesn't really do much, but you could have a lawyer go in there and say, hey, let's review pre-existing water rights. But I think it'll be fine with that.
Okay, thank you.
I would take out the word and somewhere.
Other comments on the motion to concur? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion to go to the floor with a to concur. Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Representative Goodwin.
Aye.
Hunt.
Aye.
Ismay.
Aye.
Ladner.
Aye.
May. Knowles.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Schubeck.
Aye.
Van Dypen.
Aye.
Whitman.
Aye.
Gosh.
Aye.
Overwig.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, we have 13 yeas.
Okay, getting the votes it needed. SCR 606 will go to the House with a do concur. Next up, we're going to hear SCR 607. Let's see, I better read that. Supporting congressional authorization for and federal participation in major rural water supply projects identified by the South Dakota Association of Rural Water Systems. Any proponent testimony? Welcome, Representative.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Kent Road, District 4, Hitai, South Dakota, the big town. Pretty honored to bring this resolution to you from the greatest association in the state of South Dakota, the Association of Rural Water Systems. This concurrent resolution formally expresses strong support for the South Dakota Legislature for congressional authorization and federal funding of several major regional rural water supply projects identified by the South Dakota Association of Rural Water Systems. The highlight, the big projects: Dakota Main Stem Regional Water System, Western Dakota Regional Water System, Lewis and Clark in their second expansion, and the water investment in northern South Dakota. The resolution emphasizes that these large-scale water projects are critical for public health, ag, economic development, and long-term sustainability in South Dakota. It urges continued cooperation between state rural water systems and South Dakota's congressional delegation to secure federal support. Simple terms, it's a unified message from the legislature saying, we fully back these big rural water projects. Please help fund them, Mr. Congressman. So I just want to point out, we got Kurt Feifley, looks like he's not there anymore, but Kurt, Troy, Jay Gilbertson, these guys are all big players and important voices, strong voices that we hear from. I've spent a lot of time in Washington, D.C. working with the Army Corps of Engineers and the Bureau of Reclamation. I think it was in January of 2023, I signed the incorporation papers for Dakota Main Stem, one of these large projects. These are big belly projects. These are huge, long-term, with impacts that some of us will never see. But Lewis and Clark was the big leader in starting off these big projects, and I think the entire southeast area of South Dakota benefits from them, along with our neighbors in Nebraska, Iowa, and Minnesota as well. So with that, I'd urge strong support of SCR 607. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for their proponent testimony to HCR 607. Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Lindsay Ryder-Rapp. I'm a registered lobbyist for the South Dakota Association of Rural Water Systems. We certainly appreciate Representative Rowe bringing this resolution to you this morning. As he indicated, we have several large-scale regional projects that are in the works and frankly have been identified by Daner on the SWARMS list. These are large-scale projects that, as Representative Rowe indicated, have been years in the making and frankly probably won't come to fruition until many, many years down the road. However, the planning is in process now, and we just know that at some point we're going to need federal funding for these projects, and so as they continue to evolve and move down the road, we're asking this body to express its support for funding for these projects as they continue to move forward. And so for these reasons, we would ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you for their proponent testimony in the room. Seeing none, we will go back to Mr. Jay Gilbertson. If you're online and you would like to give proponent testimony to SCR 607, we can actually see you now.
Yes,
so,
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Again, Jay Gilbertson, East Dakota Water Development District, registered lobbyist. Two would rise in support of SCR 607. As has been noted, these large regional water systems for which the demand continues to grow are not only huge, but they take decades to complete. My own professional career here in the water resource industry in South Dakota began in 1984 at a time when something called the Southeast Regional Pipeline was being discussed. The Lewis and Clark Regional Water System, knock on wood, which grew out of that, will finally be completed maybe next year. And so if you do the math, that's a long time and will take considerable support at the local, state, and federal level to make these sorts of things happen. And we would, I would encourage your support for SCR 607. Thank you.
thank you. Now we're going to go to Troy Larson. Troy Larson, are you on yet with us? No, let's see. We can see you, but we dare not unmute yourself. We're showing you're muted. There you go.
There we go.
There you go.
Troy Larson. Troy Larson, Executive Director of the Lewis and Clark Regional Water System. Thank you for your consideration, Mr. Chairman, members of this committee, for your consideration of this resolution. Every little bit helps, and this is another effort to help these projects get down the road. Lewis and Clark is looking at a second expansion that would more than double our current capacity. And again, every little bit helps. Want to thank Representative Rowe, Senator Crabtree for being prime sponsors on this, but thank the entire legislature. Throughout the years, current, past, and present legislators, we would not be where we are today without the strong support of the state, DANR. So really want to give a shout out. This just continues the strong support we've enjoyed from the state. So thank you for your consideration. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Larson. Is that all our online, Tristan? Okay, Mr. Fifely left. Okay, one last time for proponent testimony in the room. Yeah. He's not registered. Is he online? Okay, Mr. Fifely, can you hear me?
I can.
You're not registered for this bill, but the chair will let you testify if you have something. Just reintroduce yourself.
Yeah, I appreciate that very much. And again, for the record, my name is Kurt Feifley. I serve as the executive director of Dakota Main Stem, and I'm a registered lobbyist on their behalf. Thank you for letting me jump in here. I meant to click on this particular resolution, but I failed. But so thank you for letting me just say a couple of words. So Dakota Main Stem strongly supports SCR 607. As stated in that resolution, large-scale projects such as Dakota Main Stem, Western Dakota, Lewis and Clark, their second expansion, and WINS will require federal authorization and funding in order to be complete. Federal participation is significantly more difficult to secure without clear and express support from state government. SCR 607 puts the legislature in the state of South Dakota on record in support of these critical water supply projects. I'd urge your support, and thank you.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no further proponent testimony, is there any opponent testimony? Okay, seeing no opponent, you don't really need a rebuttal unless you got something you want to say.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
You told me to keep it short.
All right.
These are fantastic.
Reintroduce yourself and then give your...
Kent Road, District 4, Hayti, South Dakota. I can't express to you to all of you how important these large projects are. They're critically important for not only our big cities, but our rural areas as well. If you study the web system up in northern South Dakota, which is now developing their own WINS expansion, along with Lewis and Clark, these are critically important for not only a reliable supply of water, but a safe supply of water. And we need to, as South Dakotans, get behind these big projects. These are things that are going to impact us for generations. So again, strongly urge your support for SCR 607. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move into committee questions. Representative Gosh.
For the prime sponsor.
Oh, you all shouldn't have walked away.
And thank you. I see what we're doing here and what the intent and where it's going. I guess my question would be if we ever had a situation in which our federal delegation didn't support a water project.
Please introduce yourself and answer the question, please.
Kent Rowe, District 4, Hayti, South Dakota. I don't believe there has been any time when they've opposed this. We have benefited, again, immensely from Senator Thune, Senator Rounds, Congressman Johnson, and their predecessors as well. They've enabled a lot of good meetings with other authorities that take charge of our water and our natural resources.
Good. Any more questions from the committee? Okay, seeing no. Whoa, Representative Rice.
How much money are you kind to get for these projects with the federal government? Are you asking for, there's no certain amount in here, or is just whatever they will give us?
Go ahead, Representative.
Mr. Chair, Kent Rowe, District 4. Since these are, I won't call them moving targets, but they're such, the magnitude and the impact of these projects is so enormous, and things change over time. Routes change, demands change, even water uses change over time. So there's no, on the federal level, there's no specific dollar amount tied to any of these things. It's like I said, it's an ongoing process. It's like building a highway or building a power line. They're big, they're huge projects. I mean, these are decades long. It'll take Dakota Main Stem, like I said, we started in 2023. We're just into the appraisal and feasibility study, analyzing the results of those things, and the planning is, upfront planning is where that project is right now, but there's no specific amount tied to them. Thank you.
Are you good, Representative? Okay. Any other questions? Then we are going to close public testimony, and we are going to move into committee discussion and or action. Representative Gosh.
I'll move to pass.
We move to concur.
Move to concur.
Second.
It has been moved by Representative Gosh, seconded by Representative Knowles to concur. Any comment on your motion? Any other comments? Representative Schuback.
Just wanted to point out, this would impact, funding this would impact Lewis and Clark system, which directly impacts South Lincoln rural water, which was subject to conversation when we talked about deep aquifers with the Dakota Aquifer. So funding this will help us be less reliant on those deep aquifers on the eastern part of the state. And so we'll use more of the Lewis and Clark water system. So I do concur.
All right. Any other discussion on the motion to concur? If not, the chair will add that I can remember when I was 12 or 13 years old, I believe one of, if not the first rural water project, Randall Water, was done where I live. And I remember watching all the little diggers go through the little town of New Holland and dig, and all the ladies that were mad that their yards were getting dug up and what was this foolish thing we were doing. Well, that's been 50 years. And if I look back at what our local rural co-ops have done and how they've grown and how many people in the state of South Dakota they are now supplying good, fresh, clean water to, it's been a really successful mission, I think. And we've got a lot of growing to do in the state. So I like this idea. I like that we're thinking ahead on it. And yeah, so I like it. Thank you for taking it. All right. Now we have a motion to concur to the floor. Madam Secretary, will you call the roll?
Representative Goodwin.
Aye.
Hunt.
Aye.
Ismay.
Aye.
Ladner.
Aye.
May. Knowles.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Schubeck.
Aye.
Van Dypen.
Aye.
Whitman.
Aye.
Gosh. Aye. Overwig.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, we have 13 yeas.
Okay, receiving the amount of votes that needed, SCR 607 will go to the floor to concur, and I'm going to ask, do you want to read yours on the floor, or do you want us to put it on consent? I'm going to leave it up to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I love this water topic. Turn me loose and I can talk for hours. But again, I would defer to the fine representative from North Central South Dakota there. Consent is fine with me.
I think you want to think about that. I think you probably want to read your resolution on the floor, don't you?
After further thought, I'd like to read my resolution on the floor. Thank
Normally
you, Mr.
that's
Chair.
what we do, so but I would suggest you could shorten up and skip a few paragraphs. But all right, yeah. So okay, that concludes our work for the day. I would have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It's been moved by Representative Peterson, seconded by Representative Ladner to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.
As South Dakota's public media network, SDPB serves everyone with transparency, integrity, and commitment to open access. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB helps shape South Dakota's future by educating, informing, and inspiring the next generation of thinkers, leaders, and creators. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB serves South Dakota through an interconnected communication system that is on 24/7, 365. The first place for Amber Alerts, public safety announcements, and EAS messages. SDPB keeps public servants and citizens informed. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB brings you closer to your government. With gavel-to-gavel coverage of the South Dakota legislature and in-depth reporting from peer. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From early learners to lifelong students, SDPB inspires curiosity through trusted educational programs and resources for every stage of life. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. When South Dakotans need reliable information, SDPB is there providing updates and coverage that keep our communities safe and connected. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB celebrates South Dakota's student athletes with live coverage of SDHSAA state championships, sharing the excitement of hometown heroes. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. From choir to debate to theater, SDPB shines a spotlight on South Dakota's talented students through SDHSAA All-State Fine Arts programming. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. Every day, SDPB connects South Dakotans with stories that inform, inspire, and bring us together. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB is your home for fact-based journalism, connecting South Dakotans with news they can trust and stories that matter. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From children's programs to in-depth documentaries, SDPB sparks curiosity and lifelong learning in every South Dakotan. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB brings South Dakotans together, telling the stories that unite small towns, big ideas, and the people who make our state shine. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB shares the voices and experiences of South Dakotans, preserving our stories, our culture, and our sense of place. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. As South Dakota's public media network, SDPB serves everyone with transparency, integrity, and commitment to open access. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB helps shape South Dakota's future by educating, informing, and inspiring the next generation of thinkers, leaders, and creators. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB serves South Dakota through an interconnected communication system that is on 24/7, 365. The first place for Amber Alerts, public safety announcements, and EAS messages. SDPB keeps public servants and citizens informed. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB brings you closer to your government. With gavel-to-gavel coverage of the South Dakota legislature and in-depth reporting from peer. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From early learners to lifelong students, SDPB inspires curiosity through trusted educational programs and resources for every stage of life. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. When South Dakotans need reliable information, SDPB is there providing updates and coverage that keep our communities safe and connected. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB celebrates South Dakota's student athletes with live coverage of SDHSAA state championships, sharing the excitement of hometown heroes. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. From choir to debate to theater, SDPB shines a spotlight on South Dakota's talented students through SDHSAA All-State Fine Arts programming. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. Every day, SDPB connects South Dakotans with stories that inform, inspire, and bring us together. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB is your home for fact-based journalism, connecting South Dakotans with news they can trust and stories that matter. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From children's programs to in-depth documentaries, SDPB sparks curiosity and lifelong learning in every South Dakotan. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB brings South Dakotans together, telling the stories that unite small towns, big ideas, and the people who make our state shine. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB shares the voices and experiences of South Dakotans, preserving our stories, our culture, and our sense of place. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. As South Dakota's public media network, SDPB serves everyone with transparency, integrity, and commitment to open access. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB helps shape South Dakota's future by educating, informing, and inspiring the next generation of thinkers, leaders, and creators. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB serves South Dakota through an interconnected communication system that is on 24/7, 365. The first place for Amber Alerts, public safety announcements, and EAS messages. SDPB keeps public servants and citizens informed. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB brings you closer to your government. With gavel-to-gavel coverage of the South Dakota Legislature and in-depth reporting from peer. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From early learners to lifelong students, SDPB inspires curiosity through trusted educational programs and resources for every stage of life. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. When South Dakotans need reliable information, SDPB is there providing updates and coverage that keep our communities safe and connected. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB celebrates South Dakota's student athletes with live coverage of SDHSAA state championships, sharing the excitement of hometown heroes. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. From choir to debate to theater, SDPB shines a spotlight on South Dakota's talented students through SDHSAA All-State Fine Arts programming. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. Every day, SDPB connects South Dakotans with stories that inform, inspire, and bring us together. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder.